I wrote a book titled Thamos and Not Jacob, which is a story of my life. So my father and mother then became catechumens, and in 1938 they were baptized and they are married in the church. So we became all Christians. Now, within Ndubuizu's enclave, two of the youngest ones have been allowed to go to school because this other group have gone to church. So you might as well go to school and go to. So Linus and Ben and Ebre, by then they had moved. They had moved to the higher class, and we are schooling at St. Michael's, whereas St. John is the neighborhood school. There was nobody to take me to school. I was too tender. My father said, you know, those days, if you are born, you can be made a baby minder for the next the second to the next person to you. My father said, no, you can work for him. He will go to school. So every morning, the roasted some yam prepared and sent me to one Azobog. And the man would take me to school. We stayed there, and when I got to school, I got interested in playing football. That was the one attraction I had that kept me. Whatever, I would just want to play football because that's what school meant to me. And of course, I wasn't doing well at the beginning. But my father said, no, there, nada. He gave it one of these days. So I continued. And then by the time I got to standard 3, some of the boys I started school with were now in standard 4, and I was still in 3. And English they start introducing English in the syllabus in standard 4. So at the closure of the school, at the end of the school day, we were going home, and I was only interested in playing football, playing ball as we go. These other earlier classmates of mine were now in standard 4, and I was in 3. And they were discussing what the new words they learned in school. They were saying basket. How do you remember basket? They said, or basikute, open, so piano. Those things didn't mean anything to me, but they were trying to help each other learn how to remember new English words they learned. So I came home, I was so distressed. I cleaned the lamp and started reading my book. My father came home from market and said, what are you doing? I said, I want to. I said, did anybody punish you? I said, no. Why do you want to read? I said, I want to read. My mother said, oh, leave him alone. He let him read. So from that point on, I caught on, took academics very seriously. And then when I get to standard 4, I got to standard 4. I was one of the, among the first 10 in class. I was Edwin Ezanyika. Now later Ezuruala the 11th was my birthday. We were together, and we were moving on from 4 to 5 to 6. 1953 was our final year in primary school. And we had to take entrance. By then, Bishop Shanahan had been established at Orlo in 1949. Before this, you only had to go to CKC on Nisha, and it was very difficult. We had only about 2 or 3 people from Uruala that we are fortunate to have gone to CKC up to this point. But with Bishop Shanahan close by, then other Kajetani, Perea, Matthias Ohadema, then Ignatius Abasi and Charles Dike and Cornelius Agu. These people then went to Bishop Shanahan. So we tried, at that time, like Bishop Shanahan was like Eton College of the East. So we took the entrance into Bishop Shanahan. About 7 boys passed from my class. and we were to we were invited to an interview. I went there. Somehow I didn't pass the interview. Every other person passed, and that means I wasn't going to go to college. My friend Edwin could not bear it, so he went after my father to say, "You have to make sure that you will take him back to the brothers and try and he has talents in football. Try and use it." By this time, my father had mobilized materials for building a new house, and he took me to Olu. And the Reverend brother, principal, wanted to know, do you have any special talents? I said, I'm a footballer. I'm in fact a member of the first team, Uruala Parish team. He said, okay, I'm going to make you number one in the waiting list. So they had taken 60 people. So if anybody drops out because of finance or any other reason, then you come in, you're number one in the waiting list. So I waited. So September 1, I went back and they gave me admission. So it's against January. So we got there. 4 boys were selected from Uruala among the people that passed. The other ones who passed came from poor families. They didn't have money, so they dropped out. I was put in B class. The other 3 were in A class. So I was, for the first 2-3 months, it was hell for me because at that time, Bishop Shanahan had this tradition of, if you fail to make a good grade in the first and second term, you go. So my attitude was maybe this thing wouldn't last long. So I wasn't participating in anything for the first 2 months. Until one day, one boy called Jeffrey Anyang, who also came as on the waiting list like me, saw how miserable I was. And I confided in him that, brother, this will last. The man said, look, it's an invisible. They have common sense. He said, nobody knows what the teacher is going to teach. So as the others are learning it, let's learn it. That thing made sense to me. And then I started taking it seriously. I started taking my work seriously. So after the first semester exam, I came number 27 out of 60. So I'm now in A class. So I was so encouraged, but I continued doing sports. I was Bishop Shanahan first 11. Then from number 27 to number 21 to 18 to 16 to 12, I continued moving front. And ultimately, by the time we graduated, I had developed sufficient leadership abilities to be appointed school prefect. I was a senior labor prefect. The first time somebody from rural area, because most of the boys that came were ministers and House of Representatives children. And those of us from the rural areas were always looked down upon. I became senior labor prefect. I became a member of the sports team, a member of the football team, first 11.